Hi everyone, welcome. I am so excited about today. I've been reading the messages this morning and it just brought tears to my eyes. I am so proud of you guys doing the homework, claiming and naming, really coming in the arena with me. I'm just gonna make sure that I am live, that everything is working well, but it looks like it is. Today is gonna be another killer day. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait today, fasten your seat belts because it's going to be very deep again. I think this challenge is being really, when I first thought about it, connecting to your inner power, I kind of thought, I know that there is something there. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about, but I knew that, I am what I am today, living to my purpose, helping people, living the life that I want, that I have created, feeling as healthy as I've ever been because I started connecting to my inner power. But it was almost like as if I had this concept, but I didn't exactly know what I was going to talk about. And everything started falling into place. What I really wanted to, really dig into deep and give you guys like some action plan. For me, it's very important to always, focus on planning those challenges with an action at the end of the day and talking about one thing that you can do, because I see often that's where people have problems. They might have all the knowledge in the world, but they are not implementing any of it. They are not living. They fall into the unconscious mode, which, when you look at it, it's like you might as well not know, like what if all you're doing is just, reading a book and understanding and knowing the knowledge, but then when you start walking through life, you just fall unconscious and back into the matrix again, right? It's really important to take action. Even if you stop reading and watching anything right now, I am sure all of you that have so much knowledge already that you can implement in your day-to-day life. And this is why this challenge and every challenge that I have run and planned is very focused on action taking. And today it's something that it comes up all the time in all the challenges that I run. It's about what's stopping you, what's stopping you to create health, what's stopping you to create an emotional balanced state of mind, what's stopping you for creating a different professional life, what's stopping you to starting your business, what's stopping you to creating wealth and abundance in your life, what's stopping you to change your circumstances, like maybe to leave your job, like I did, to leave your safe and security that you think that you have, what's stopping you from divorcing that person who you're no longer happy with, and you haven't been happy for a long time. What stopped you from repairing that relationship that it's bothering you, for mom or brother or sister or a friend or whatever. There is so many things in our lives, and we look at it, we kind of want to do, but there is something that stops us. And and just doing a little recap, when we look back at day one, it's I think a big part of it is this wall that we have built in front of our hearts, and our souls. This wall of like trying to protect ourselves. I've been hurt, I can't get hurt anymore. I fall into this trap. I don't want to fall into this trap again. When I grew up, my parents lost everything like me. Like I can't, let go of my scarcity mindset. It's something that I had to work through, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Like all of those things that happened that made us go into this shell and this kind of protective mode. And before we know, the days go by, the months go by, the years go by, and we're living in misery, in suffering. When I look back at my life before cancer, I was just doing what others wanted me to do, what I thought that they wanted me to do, right? Like mainly, my mom and dad, even though I didn't speak to them, like, look at how, this is so insane to think about this, but this is what I was doing. I was working for a big company, I was being successful at my job, and I always thought that that's what my parents wanted me to do. I never stopped for a second and think, like, what do I want to do? And I have always had a gift to build a very build rapport with people and build real and close relationships with people. And this is why I was so successful in recruitment, right? Because that's what I did. Instead of coaching them around their whole life, I did coach them around their their jobs and changing jobs. And it's a very, very similar space, because people are very unhappy normally where they are in their jobs, and they want to move on, or they want a promotion, or they want to do something else. And I used to love that, spending time with my clients, with my candidates. For me, was my biggest, like, the happiest moments when a client would say to me, Angelica, this person that you found for me, this candidate, is kind of the best ever, like, this is amazing, thank you so much. Or when a candidate said to me, Angelica, I love my job, like, you found me the perfect job, I'm so happy where I am. That used to bring me so much joy, but yet I couldn't connect that with doing anything else, because I was still doing what I thought the society wanted from me, right? And I think that is something that is stopped a lot of people, this kind of, mentality that we grow up with, that we think that our parents are expecting us to become someone. And even though we are adults, we're still living like a little kid, right? Hoping that our parents are going to be proud of us, like hoping that they're going to say to us, like, oh, I'm so proud of you because you've done this, and when they don't say that, we get upset and we get disappointed, and that feeling hurts us, and I don't want to say that you shouldn't feel like that, but it's a pattern, it's a habit that unless you start living consciously, you don't really realize what's happening in your life. I was very lucky and blessed that cancer woke me up. God came into my life and said, Angelica, I've given you all the signs in the world and you're still not awake, so I'm going to give you something a little more serious, so you can wake up, to all the possibilities, to what you came to deserve to do. You're going to have to fight for your life. You're going to have to really, really, really go down deep, and into your knees, to really fight for who you want to become, how you want to live this life. You're not going to take any day, for granted anymore. And I made myself a promise that that's what I was going to do, and which is very much in line with what we're going to talk about today. What's stopping you? Fear can be paralyzed. Fear of being hurt, the fear of being let down, of being disappointed, fear of what others are going to think about you. I think that's something that I went through in a while. I wasn't on Facebook until I started my business in 2020, and I was like thinking to myself, like, how does this work? Like, you just put yourself out there for the whole world to see your story, and what are the others going to think about me? I come from that generation, and if I am 42, if you are in that sort of generation, you probably have the same thinking as I do, and the reality is, like, when you look at somebody who's 20s and they're putting their heart and soul out there and they're being really successful, people at the 40 years old group, resent them because they're like, oh, look at them, they had it easy. They haven't. They just have a different mindset, and they are just putting their heart and soul out there. And this is why people are resonating with them. As simple as that. The world that we live in is different. I speak to so many people, like on sales calls, they tell me, Angelica, I really want to start a business, but I don't want to put my story out there. And I said, well, guess what? Then you don't have a business. If you want to be online, people want to know who you are. People want to know where you come from, your story. How are they going to trust you? How are they going to know that, what you're saying is true and valid? This is the world we live in. Even before COVID, it was already like that. Now, even more. So, there is this fear of like, oh, what about if I look silly? What about if I make a mistake? I have made so many mistakes, especially when I'm around technology, which is really not my forte. I've been on lives like this for like 20 minutes and I realized that the sound wasn't working. And will I stop doing what I love every day because of that? I mean, when you think logically about it, like it's almost like people are on this race of having a life without problems, and that everything runs smoothly, and like everybody else outside of you does exactly what you want them to do, then I'll be happy. I mean, life wouldn't even be fun if that was the case, right? You wouldn't have any growth, you wouldn't have any learning. Just think about it. We mostly, when life is presenting you with something, especially when it's over and over again in different scenarios, is because you haven't learned your lesson yet. And you need to learn that particular lesson. An example of this is I had an ectopic pregnancy when I was 31. I had a difficult pregnancy when I was 32. I had another very difficult pregnancy when I was 34. And then I still didn't change anything in my life. I still didn't listen to my calling. I still didn't do anything about it. And then I had stage 3 bowel cancer when I was 38. I could have learned on my first lesson at 31, but I didn't. I could have learned on my second lesson at 32, but I didn't. I could have learned on my lesson at 34, but I still didn't. So then I had to learn on when I was 38. It is, when you think logically, the lesson was still the same. Wake up, stop living like you're living. You've got to change things around. But we don't want to listen that most of the time. We don't want anybody to shed the light on our darkness. It's because it's easier for us to stay in, under our covers, in our shelf, and pretending that we are happy. I think somebody said, in one of their comments, like, I'm tired of pretending. My energy is kind of running out of me. I can't pretend anymore. Now, I can't tell you how tired of pretending I was. I was so good at pretending that everybody around me was so shocked when I told them I have stage 3 bowel cancer. All my friends were like, but you're the person who eats the healthiest we know. You've got all your shit together. Like, how is this even possible? And yet I was, I was the only one in my family. I have a very big extended family in Brazil. The only one who has had cancer. There was no family history in any side of my family. Nobody at my age who had cancer. Now, if that wasn't a wake-up call, I don't know what it would be. So this fear, that we live in, and this kind of, trying to protect us and really protecting that little fearful kid, that we still carry with us, but we don't want to admit that. And that's the reality of it. It's much easier to pretend that we're strong while we're crumbling away on the inside. That's how I felt before cancer. It took me a year to decide to leave my corporate job to start my business. It wasn't an overnight thing. When people tell me, Angelica, like, how can I leave my job and start my business? Yeah, I know it's hard. I've been there. It's not easy. I had to, when I had healed my physical body, I had healed my emotional body. And when I went back to my part-time job and they gave me an opportunity to work part-time, which I was really, lucky and I feel blessed that they did that, I started realizing that, when I went to work, I was working mostly from home, but, it took my energy away from me. That whole, being around, what I did before, instead of giving me joy, it was taking the energy away from me. And I thought, I can't keep doing this. Remember, I honored myself that I wasn't going to waste the second chance anymore. I was going to honor my body, my mind and soul. I was going to do everything I could to stay healthy. And going to a job that took my energy away, it wasn't in line with that. I needed to really honor that second chance in life that I got, and for me it was just like, I've got to do something about this, I can't get sick anymore. There isn't really another wake-up call here. I need to do this properly this time. I need to listen to my calling. If there is one thing that cancer taught me, and I feel very, very blessed that I went through this experience, is that life can change in a second. There is no tomorrow, there is only now. And I live up to this every single day. You know, when people tell me, you know, like my friends, hey Angelica, do you want to plan something for like 3 weeks? You know, most likely I'll say like, I don't know, like I'm just thinking about today and maximum tomorrow. Because life is now. I put all my energy, you know, when I wake up, I'm excited about my day, I know what I'm doing, and I put all my energy to living today. You know, like I said yesterday, you know, on a Thursday, I left work. On a Friday, it was like the Easter holiday. I didn't go back for a year. I never expected that. All my, you know, control tendencies, perfectionist, and knowing, you know, having all her shit together, didn't really came into play into this life event that came into my life. You know, I couldn't control, I couldn't have foreseen that. Not even the doctors could, because they couldn't believe when they saw my CT scan. You know, this whole thing, and yesterday I read about, you know, that the man that, you know, had lived all his life, you know, thinking like, oh, you know, like if something happened, I'm prepared for it, thinking about the worst, and then they had a car accident and his wife got killed, and he's like, nothing was going to prepare me for that. Why did I live so long like that? You know, now it's my promise that I'm going to live to my fullest every single day in honor of my wife. And this is my promise. You know, I promise God I am not going to waste my second chance in life. You know, I saw cancer as an opportunity for me to rub it off my board, you know, and start it all over again and pick it up the pieces carefully to put it back on. You know, what did I really want it on my board again? You know, and it's not only about sickness, it can be about anything. You know, like we live in this world today thinking that we can control things. Because we've got smartphones, we've got social media, we've got all of different things, right? But the reality is, we can't control anything apart from controlling now. And that's all we have. And you know, I am here today, you know, when you say, Angelica, you know, this is stopping me. Angelica, you know, I still got, you know, this relationship that I need to sort it out. Angelica, I can't leave my corporate job. Angelica, I need to focus on my health, but I can't find time. Angelica, I've got to focus on my emotional health, but, you know, I'm too stressed out. If you're telling me all of that, you know, like all I can tell you is like you need to make a decision. How do you want to live the rest of your life? Because if the answer is I want to be free, I want to create wealth, I want to create abundance, I want to create freedom, I want to create health, I want to create, you know, new relationships, loving relationships, meaningful relationships. There's only one way to doing that. You need to start acting differently now. You know, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I thought to myself, well, everything that I did so perfectly up to now led me to a stage 3 bowel cancer diagnosis. So if I keep doing everything like that, where is that going to lead me up to? Death, for me, in my case. So I needed to take this seriously, and I needed to change everything. You know, like the diet, the exercise is one part of it, and if you ask me, it's the easiest part of it. You know, most of my clients, after one session, they feel a lot more energy, you know, because we focus on the physical habits and they realize this is actually not that hard. But when it comes to the emotional health, it's a little bit more complicated. Digging deep, understanding your emotions, being strong enough and courageous enough to say, put your hand up. You know, I've been angry for all my life. I've resented my parents my whole life. I resented my friend, my sister, my brother, or whoever. I'm sad, I've been anxious, I've been depressed. Now that's a little trickier, I'm not going to lie. But you need to start thinking to yourself, am I going to live in this prison, in this box here, who's led me to live this life today? Or do I want to create a different life? And I want to feel different about myself, my body, my mind, and my soul. If you want to create a different life, a different, you know, feeling in your body, mind, and soul, you need to start taking different actions. It's not about listening to this. It's about taking the action. You know, if you don't change, nothing is going to change. You know, we were taught to rely on other people's approval, and our parents going, oh, hey, you did a great job. You know, hey, you're doing so good. We were taught to rely on other people to get a confirmation, to get the love, to get the acceptance. If there is one thing that I've learned in my journey is you need to encourage yourself, you need to love yourself, and you need to find your own confirmation of your courage, your persistence, your discipline, your business. You need to stop relying on other people to get that every day, because people are busy with their own lives. People have their own shit to worry about. You know, like you probably have some beautiful friends and people around you that want to support you, but they also have their own issues. And expect people to come and save you, you know, it's just insane. We are the only ones that can save ourselves. It's not anybody's responsibility to get us out of the hole that we've digged ourselves into. And this is a massive message about taking responsibility, you know, letting go of what's stopping you so you can connect your inner power. You know, because if you don't change, you know, if you're going to stay in your 9-to-5 job, if you don't let go of your scarcity mindset, that's where you're going to stay. You know, that for me, that was the last part of my healing. I needed to let go of my scarcity mindset. You know, just thinking that, you know, oh my God, you know, but I've got a salary. Oh my God, you know, what I'm going to do. Oh my God, how I'm going to make money. Well, guess what? I'm making more money than I ever thought I would in my business without a 9-to-5 job. I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm more fulfilled than I've ever been. But I'm not going to lie to you. It was a big jump. I had to work through. I had to be honest with myself. I had to work through this scarcity mindset. So, you know, after I left my job and I was like, okay, after running circles, trying to do everything on my own, I thought to myself, would you pay for a coach without having any results yet? Yeah, that's what you do. It's the reality of life. While you're looking at people and going like, how do they do it? How do they do it? They invest in themselves. That is the reality of it. It's the whole thing like the online business, right? People think like, oh, how they, this 20 years old, no one has so much money. You know, I had somebody telling me the other day, that's just disgusting. I said, no, it's not. They're working hard. They're investing on themselves. And the difference between people that are young and people that are older, like me, and I'm saying this because I have been around people that are much younger than me in business groups, is that they don't have any fear. There is nothing stopping them. They work hard. There is nobody making that is not working hard, guys. There is nobody. If you want to make it, you need to work hard. That's you know, like these adverts like, hey, make $1 million overnight. This doesn't not exist. But you've got to let go of the fear. You've got to let go of what's stopping you, what other people are going to think about you. You know, you've got to let go of, you know, this wall that you have built, the resentment, the anger. That's all taking energy, space in your heart. You know, energy from your body to keep the anger going. I know that because I have been there. Being angry takes a lot of energy. It used to spend like, I don't know, 70% of my energy because I needed to keep that anger alive. You know, it's insane how much it takes to keep that anger alive. So you need to really ask yourself, you know, like, what's stopping me? And the second question is, then, am I prepared to let that go? Am I prepared to send the intention out to the universe or to God to let this go? You know, like a beautiful comment from Jana saying, you know, I had this urge to calling my dad, and, you know, we had a 30 minutes conversation. You know, when you set a strong intention, you know, when you ask and you say, you know, in the Bible, you ask and you ask and you shall receive, or you shall ask or you receive. It's immediate. When you set a strong intention, is immediate. When you open your heart, is immediate. It happens so fast you can't even wait for it. But most people ask thinking, I'm going to call my dad. I really hope he's going to change so he can make me happy. So from that place, no relationship is going to change. It's about opening your heart, what we spoke about on day one. It's very, very important to come from that place. I want to let go of what's stopping me completely. It doesn't matter how it is or how I'm going to do this. I just want to let this go, because I'm no longer happy where I am, and I want to create a different life. I want to create a different state of mind. I want to create a different, a physical state as well. This is very, very, very important, to come from a place of love, a place of openness, a place of not expecting that others are going to change so you can change. So it's, the question of what's stopping you today. I want you to name one thing that is stopping you. It could be, the fear of failure. It could be the fear of what others are going to think. It could be, again, the emotional, the resentment, or it could be, I don't know how I can, let go of this, or, it could be a particular relationship that you have been putting so much focus on, that you don't have energy to focus on anything else. But, if you don't start setting an intention to let this go and to really, remove this obstacle from your life, you're going to have all of those dreams, and they are only going to be dreams. You're going to still go to your job that you are unhappy, that you're going to stay in your relationship that you're unhappy. You're still going to resent that person, that, that family member that you have to still put up with. You're going to become more and more ingrained in who you are right now. And the reality is, guys, the older you get, the more ingrained you are in who you are. I have worked with people that are younger, people that are older. When you're younger, it's easier for you to break patterns, because everything that we do, it's a habit and it's a pattern. It's not only physical, but emotional as well. So you need to acknowledge it. I've been like this for for me, it was like I've been like this for 38 years. I needed to be patient with myself. Some things took me longer than somebody who would be, had been practicing that, negative pattern for a shorter amount of time. I had been living in these block energy patterns for too long. But you need to ask yourself, I just want to let this go. I want to really start creating a different life so I can live the dreams that I have. And the key thing is just to take different action each day. Once you start taking different action each day, like Jana did, things that you want, they become closer and closer to you. Dreams start becoming a reality when we make different choices now. Our lives start changing when we make different choices now. Because now is all we have. There is no point in saying I'm going to start exercising next week. I'm going to start, my business when, in 5 years when I have enough money and when I retire, wait a second. All we have is now. You don't know if you're going to be alive in 5 years' time. I'm gonna start my business when my wife is on board with me, when my husband is on board with me. Unfortunately, you have to focus on what you can control, and all you can control is you. We are taught to rely on people encouraging us, but we need to love ourselves and we need to encourage ourselves. Just Carly said, she's mentioned, I have this practice that I say to myself, I love me, I love myself, I love myself, throughout the day before I go to bed. We need to remind ourselves of that, because the reality is, if we don't remind ourselves of that, nobody's going to remind ourselves of that. If you believe in God, if you've got something that it feels impossible, ask God's help to guide you through your next step. But as far as people, nobody's going to save you. And I realized that when I had cancer. Nobody could have gone through the emotional healing that I went through. I had to go through that process. I speak to people quite often that they go to one practitioner, another practitioner, another practitioner, another practitioner, because they don't want to sit with themselves. Because it's too scary to sit with themselves and find their own truth. I have been very successful because I was prepared to sit with myself. And this is what I teach my clients to do. I did my healing just by going within. I didn't rely on anyone, to come and solve my problem for me. I didn't rely on vitamins or on things outside of me. I relied on me. So what I have now, nobody can take away from me because it's ingrained in me. It's anchored in my soul. And, regardless of what situation you are in, you are the only one that can change your life. And I know sometimes it's so hard to listen to this, to hear this, but how can I do this? You do this by taking one step at a time, by taking the step that you can right now. Instead of thinking about, when this happens, then I can take a step. Everybody can do something right now. Like when people tell me like, oh, but I don't have any money, how can I invest on my health? Well, going for a walk outside is free. Go for a walk 10 minutes a day. You're going to feel a lot better than if you don't go for a walk. Like dancing, one song a day, it's free. If you just put some songs on the radio on, you don't even need internet. You can dance, it's free. These days I live life with only one focus. Am I living the life that I want now? Not tomorrow, not in the future, now. And when the answer is no, when something unbalances me, I always ask myself, what can I do to go back into balance? Is there something that I need to do? Is that something that I need to learn here with this situation presented in front of me? Nothing gets in the way of me living my life, the life that I want now. Nothing gets in the way of that. For me, happiness is picking my kids up from school, dropping them off, playing with my dog when they come home from school, making them a snack, making them dinner, being with them all the time, having a coffee with my husband before, both of us start working every morning. That is, for me, what it is, a happy and fulfilled life. Again, guys, this is just not about money. It's about doing what you love. I often say to my clients, like people say, Angelica, but I really want to be a coach. I want to start a business. You're going to have to spend a lot of time doing things that potentially you don't love to do what you love. Are you prepared to do that? And it's the same thing, to be fit and health like I am today, you're going to have to spend a lot of time doing perhaps things that you don't love. But once it becomes a habit, it just becomes part of who you are. Yeah, I started exercising to the chemo, dragging myself out of bed and thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. This is just a drag. But I used to ask myself, Angelica, very simply, do you want to live or die? Oh yes, I want to live. So then start exercising them. I don't have to ask myself that question anymore. I just wake up like today. I did my meditation. I went to, to do my exercise, and it just happens naturally. And, I'm not here to sell, oh, it's so simple. I've been doing this for 4 years, guys. How long are you prepared to change a habit to get the result that you want? Like with everything that I have done, in my business, for me, if you ask me what's the moment that you love the most about what you do, it's when my clients, send me a text after one session, say, Angelica, I feel so much more energy. I feel in control. I'm not overwhelmed anymore. I know what I'm doing. I've got a plan. They tell me like, oh, my wife is on board. My husband is on board. My kids are doing different things now. Like I heard one of my clients saying to me like, wow, I didn't expect this from our first session. This is amazing. Yeah, that's what makes me the happiest. And I had to do a lot of things to get where I am today. Like I said, perhaps things that, it didn't come natural to me like this, coming live on Facebook or, putting posts, vulnerable posts out there. It's all things that I had to practice doing. What's stopping you from connecting to your inner power? I had to let go the fear of, what others were going to think of me, let go of the fear of not having enough money, because I went through a traumatic experience when I was 15, when my dad lost everything and we lost everything, right? And because of that, I tried to create this safe net, working corporate, while all I was doing, for me, just didn't work. I felt like I was in a prison. I had to let go of my scarcity mindset. I had to invest on myself when I had 0 clients, and I still invest on myself now when I have lots of clients. So it's just, things just evolve, but you need to want to let go of what's stopping you. It is really being honest with yourself and saying, well, this particular thing, it's on the way and it's stopping me and I can't move forward. Okay, so what's the one thing that you can do today and every day, not just today, that can be a step forward? Mary was saying that, for me, it's getting out of the house and getting connected with other people, and even to the extent of saying to a stranger, like giving a compliment to a stranger. I mean, that is a massive step. Even though she said, oh, that's a small step, that is a massive step. People go around walking like so grumpy these days. Now, when I walk my dog and there's people around, walking dogs, I can't believe how angry dogs are. And I'm like, oh my God, my dog is all like friendly, wants to say hello to everybody, and these dogs just want to jump on here. And I'm like, what's going on? Why can't even dogs be friendly? I mean, for a stranger, to feel like seen and loved by somebody who come and say like, wow, I really love your hair, oh, I love your dress. I mean, how beautiful is that? What a beautiful practice. And I think that is a massive step in the right direction, in getting you outside of your comfort zone. There is no value in doing things that we are comfortable with. If you are just doing things that you're comfortable with every day, you're just not growing. And listening to things on social media, it's not putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. Putting yourself in an uncomfortable position is actually taking action. So today, guys, the homework is really to think about, what's the one thing that is stopping you to connect your inner power? Is it that wall that you build, like that we talked about day one, is the anger, the resentment, the childhood stories. You need to ask yourself, am I going to let this consume me for the rest of my life? I needed to ask myself that question. Am I going to be angry for the rest of my life with my parents? Yeah, it was a very hard question. And at the beginning of my diagnosis and treatment, the answer was like, yes, hell yes, because I'm still angry. I'm not going to let that go. Until I sat with that question, and I kept sitting with that question, changing the diet, exercise. Angelica, you still got this to think about. Are you going to spend the rest of your life angry with your parents? Are you going to let this hold you back from your own healing? Again, when I was, in my corporate job, I imagine myself, retired, dying, thinking all I did was work in corporate because I was too scared to start my business. This is the beautiful thing about having cancer. You go through death, alive. That is one of the most beautiful things that has ever happened to me. You're in front of you, you just gotta go there. You just gotta go there and ask yourself, is this it? Are you gonna be happy with this life that you lived? My answer today was like, hell no, I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. I need to change something about this. I don't want to regret. I don't want to think like, oh, I wish I had started my business, like after the first 6 months, running around in circles, not investing any money on myself because I still had this scarcity mindset. I kept saying to myself, well, what if I go back to my corporate job? My soul would scream at me, hell no. That is like no negotiable. You can't do that. What are you waiting for? If you want to change your life, you need to start practicing discipline, courage, persistence. You need to stop relying on other people to give you the confirmation of what you want to do. You need to really stop practicing blaming, complaining, and the old stories that hold you back. That's harsh, I know. But if you think my story inspirational, this is exactly what I did, and I still do every single day. After everything that I went through, I realized everything is just a practice. You know, and I spent too many years practicing the wrong things, and I needed to start practicing the right things. And that's what I do each day. And, you know, the more I do, the more things come natural to me. And, you know, and once I master one thing, I go into the next thing, and I go into the next thing, and I go into the next thing. And this is what I do with my clients. You know, we master a solid foundation that they can keep building up upon, as opposed to going like, hey, you know, follow this diet plan, and then after the 3 months, you just never, you know, do this anymore. It's not about that. It's about changing how you live for the rest of your life. This is what I'm most passionate about. You know, and today, guys, I'm going to be talking about, you know, if you haven't been in my world, you know, in my world, and know that, you know, the coaching program that I offer and how I can help people. I get lots of people not knowing what I do, because, you know, I put lots of information out there, but sometimes it's hard for people to grasp what I do, how I can translate what I went through into helping people. You know, so apart from an enormous amount of knowledge that I acquire, obviously I have lived through all of it. And I work with clients on a 90 days individualized, personalized plan, so they can change their own lives according to where they are at. So we work very closely together for 90 days, where we meet on Zoom every other week, and they have 24/7 tech support apart from the Sunday. And we really work on action taking, you know, plan, as opposed to just like talking and going through things. It's about, okay, well, this is, you know, my clients will be saying to me, this is what I do all day. Okay, so those are the things that we can start changing. We start building a solid plan that they can start following. And in each session, we keep building up, and the accountability is there when, you know, they text me, or when I text them to see how they are and what they are doing. So, you know, they can't just get lost like in one of those massive groups where, you know, people just buy, they never complete their courses, or they buy and they don't have anybody to make them accountable. You know, changing is not easy. I know that. You know, and having an accountability partner, somebody to tell you, look, this is a plan, you know, how you doing, how you go about this, today you had a bad day, let's pick it up from where we are. And, you know, and the most beautiful thing is that, you know, when people get wobbly, I'm there to pick them up. So when we don't work together, they know how to pick themselves up. For me, that's what I try to really make it real for my clients, so they can build this connection to their inner power by themselves. So they don't have to rely, they know exactly what they need to do each day. Now, I don't work with everyone. I have been on sales calls with people that I have told them on the call, I don't think I can help you. So if you are in a position that you want some guidance, I'll add the link below so you can book a call with me, and we can talk about it and see where you are at, and I can, you know, we can talk about if I can help you. So if you are in that place, you know, let's chat and see, you know, if we are a good match. So now, guys, back to the homework. What's stopping you? Like I said, you know, before, you think that, you know, my journey is inspiring, that what I have done is incredible. This was a massive part, a very important part of the process. You know, really letting go of the things that were stopping me in my physical health, in my emotional health, my spiritual health, and in my professional life. You can't move forward if you're just hitting your head against a brick wall. If you're just fighting with this obstacle that you just can't overcome. You know, think in your life, you know, what it is, the one thing that is screaming at you is like, you know, you need to process this, you need to solve this, you need to overcome this, you need to to really process this in a way that this is not going to show up anymore in your life, so you can move forward to the next step. After working with people for 1.5 years, I think, one of the things that really stop people is really their need to be right and holding on to things that they think, their stories. Yeah, but what about this? They've done this to me, they've done that to me, they've done this to me. You're in the wrong path here. What it's done, it's done. What happened, it happened, and it couldn't have happened in any other way. We cannot change the past. That is not the right path. And people get so stuck in that. And the other problem is that people think like, oh, when I get this, I'm going to be happy. When I get that, I'm going to be happy. And when I go, when I do this, and again, we can't change the future, because the future hasn't even happened yet. All we can do is now. And all we can do is focus on ourselves. As long as you are in this path and with this focus, then you are in the right path, and the next step will show up, the next step will show up, the next step will show up. You've seen the people that have done the homework. They've taken their lives by the hand. They're taking action. They're not relying on anyone to really do the work for them. They're doing it as they go, and they're getting the results as they go. They're putting themselves out there. They're being vulnerable. They're saying, this is what I need to do more of. Because when they're saying out loud, it just confirms to them what I'm doing is the right thing. Is the power of writing and saying out loud. Guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been another amazing day. If you are in a position to be guided, and this is where you are at, you're committed to creating a different life, physically, emotionally, and professionally, let's chat to see if we are a good fit. But tomorrow is going to be another killer day, and I am not going to talk about the thing. Is going to be a surprise, but thank you so much for being here. Today I'm going to finish up, and it's really funny that I'm reading this book of Brené Brown again. Yesterday I read another thing that confirmed my message today. And if you don't know the work of Brené Brown, she actually does the research before she writes her book. So it's just not only about what she thinks. She actually researches and interviews people about, in this particular case, about their emotions. So she's talking about regret. She said, interestingly, research shows that in the short term, we tend to regret bad outcomes where we took action. However, when we reflect back over the long term, we more often regret the actions we didn't take, what we didn't do, and we think of those as missed opportunity. Guys, there is something that is stopping you to living the life that you want, to connect your inner power. Claim it and name it. Write in the comments below. Put yourselves in the arena with me. Open yourself up. Open your heart up. You've seen what happened in Jana's life. She's done it, and straight away the transformation happens. When you truly open your heart, it happens instantaneously when there is no resistance. Your wall is your resistance. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I will share this group if you feel that if you know somebody who needs to listen to this message. Just share. I think you can share the group. You can't share the video, but invite anybody. There is still 2 days to go, another 2 killer days. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon. Take care.